Welcome to In Focus. I'm your host, Thuy Phan. If you love history and if you love cars, you're going to love this next one. Nestled in the heart of South Florida, tucked away in a quiet corner, is the Fort Lauderdale Antique Car Museum, home to one of the largest collections of Packard cars in North America. Join me as I find out more about this hidden gem and why it'll make a car lover out of you.
This next one is for car lovers. What began as a hobby quickly became a passion and a life mission. For Arthur Stone, the founder of the Fort Lauderdale Antique Car Museum, collecting Packards was a dream come true. And once you enter these doors, you'll see why.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Fort Lauderdale Antique Car Museum. My name is Frank. Okay, I'm the one that helps maintain a beautiful collection of Packards. We have 39 Packards in our collection, all in running condition. We have some celebrity cars. We have 4 cars that have never been restored. And we have a ton of memorabilia, as you can see throughout our walls, through everywhere.
Stone, who passed on 3 years ago, created this museum and foundation to share his love of Packards with the world and to also educate the community. Frank Valdez, the right-hand man of this operation, says this museum is one of a kind.
What makes this museum so unique is we have one of the largest Packard-only collections by one gentleman. There are 2 total collections in the United States with more than 30 Packards. We have 39, and this is a one-man's collection, Arthur Stone, who passed on us in 2010.
One amazing thing about all these antique cars is that they are all in working condition.
Well, the oldest one in the museum is a 1909. That's one of the hardest ones to keep running. But no, they're all in running conditions. We can still find some parts for it. We have a professor of engineering who's our mechanic who comes down on his off time, whose name's Bob Jacko. And between him and I, we work on the cars and we keep the things running and we exercise them every few months and keep them in running condition. The most important thing is exercising them and keeping them running.
That means that there are cars here over 100 years old that still run. That in itself is simply amazing. Here, Frank takes us around and shows us some of the most popular cars and why they are such works of art.
To my left here, we have a very unique car. It is a 1932 shovel-nose sedan. And the reason they call it a shovel-nose is because the front is shaped like a spade or a shovel. Only 1,200 were made in 1932, and there's actually only 5 of these left in the United States. The deal with this was that Packard came out of the Depression, or in the Depression, and they're trying to get everybody to own a Packard. So they lowered the selling price to $1,750, over $3,000, $4,000 that they really originally cost. And that hurt Packard because instead of helping sales, it diminished sales because now the very wealthy people didn't like the idea of a middle-class person being able to buy a car just as beautiful as they could for half the price that they were used to paying. To my left over here in the far corner, there is a beautiful red limousine. That is a 1916 one-of-a-kind ladies' town car or limousine. The engine in this is considered a twin 6. It is not a V12 because it doesn't have a 12-cylinder block, but what it does have is 2 6-cylinder engines using the same bottom end, but they have independent distributors, so one side can run independently from the other. And it's actually one of the first years that they started putting electric starters in all of Packards. We'll take you around to the other side of the car so you can see the inside of it. This car has totally been restored. It took 6 years to restore it, and in our books we have the total documentation of the restoration. The little vases hanging up on the windows here are actually called bud vases, and those are deodorizers. Those are made to put a little bit of water, flour, something that gave fragrance in the car, and that's how you deodorize the inside of the cars. In 1916, this car was worth $4,875.
To give you an idea of how much some of these cars are worth, Frank reveals
The estimate worth on this car is somewhere in the neighborhood of $450,000 and up.
that's about the price of a very nice and large house, so you can imagine what the worth of this entire museum truly is.
This is how they originally found it, and they had it totally restored. What makes Packard so unique It's the Rolls Royce of the United States. Packards were only made for the rich and famous. In 1900, when Packard started making cars for the public, the cheapest car was $3,000. The most expensive was $5,000. So you had to be a very wealthy person to be able to own a Packard. And they were the luxury cars of the United States.
Shirley Stone, the current president and owner of this museum, says her late husband's love for Packards quickly became hers as well.
Well, I guess it's just hard to believe that these cars could be made so beautiful. And most of it handwork, people that with beautiful hands that could make such beautiful cars. I was lucky enough to be able to drive them when I was a kid. My uncles happened to be in love with Packards too, so I was fortunate enough to be able to get in those cars and drive them when I was 16, 17 years old. And what a thrill it was. I felt like I was queen for a day when I got in one of those Packards. So you can see we had a mutual feeling for this particular car.
Throughout the museum, we have all kinds of memorabilia, including motor meters. We have 5 cabinets of hood ornaments, mascots, all kinds of dashboards, windshields, grills, you name it. We have all kinds of memorabilia regarding to cars, not just Packards. Packard made cars for the rich and famous, and they also made individual cars. So if you wanted to buy a Packard chassis, engine, tires, and take it to a special company that would design a special coach for you, that's what you could do, such as the silver car here in the middle of the room. Okay? This is a 1939 Crown Victoria V12 engine, does 0 to 60 in 20 seconds, and only 20 of this models were ever made.
If you notice on these cars, most have spare tires included in their design, much like today, and for good reason.
That's how you carried your spare tire back in those days. And in some cases, you see that some of them have multiple spare tires. The reason for that is because of the road conditions you had to travel in those days. We didn't have paved roads. All the roads were actually dirt. And in the major cities, they had cobblestone or brick roads. So tires were very economical, and you had to carry a few with you at times, depending on where you traveled through.
While antique cars' value fluctuates, Valdez says that this museum isn't in it for the value, but more so for the education.
If you watch the televisions and you watch Barrett Jackson and all that, there's a lot of people that go in buying the antique cars and all that, but they're using them as an investment, and a lot of them, you know, we're here, we use them for our pleasure. I mean, it's not so much of an investment anymore for us as just a pleasure of owning them and displaying them for the public. To my left, we have a very special car. It is a 1921 touring convertible. The back seat is still original, but the whole car has totally been restored. And supposedly, Warren Hardy, Woodrow Wilson, Albert Einstein, and Charles Lindbergh all rode parades in this car. And in our book, we have a picture of Einstein and Lindbergh in a car like this. We have a specialty doctor's coupe. This is actually designed for a doctor. It has a medicine box built into the back seat for all his medication. And they left out the right front passenger seat and made it into a fold-up jump seat. And the reason for that is because he made house calls. So if he had to take you to the clinic, it was easy for you to get in the car and sit in the back seat. This next beautiful car next to me here on my left is the owner's museum, the owner of the museum's favorite car, Arthur Stone. He was a founder of the museum, and he had this car totally restored from the frame up. And after that, it took 3 years to do it, and he vowed he would never restore another one and would buy them already restored because of all the trouble of finding parts and all the time it takes to restore one of these. And these features in these cars are related to a lot of modern day features today. For example, and look at the 2 little lights at the bottom. They actually turn with the steering wheel, where today's modern day cars, such as the Lexus, Buick, Cadillac, a lot of them today have the same features. And another celebrity car at the end of the row here is President Calvin Coolidge's personal car. That is a 1925 7-passenger touring convertible that was actually owned by President Calvin Coolidge. This big red truck is a 1915 World War I troop carrier or transport truck. Packard was one of the biggest designers of chassis for 1915 for World War I, making trucks for the French and English in World War I. This particular truck here was owned by a Canadian company called the Durham Cornstarch Beehive Corn Syrup Company. It's the only one with a brass radiator cowling, and it has a 4-cylinder engine that just might go 14 miles an hour.
Stone, who hopes her husband's love for Packards lives on, says she hopes everyone who visits walks away with a little bit more knowledge.
Well, hopefully they came to see history in the making. And as far as I'm concerned, I talk to a lot of people that come to our museum, and I only get the most wonderful raves about our cars and the way we presented it. And it does my heart good. I don't think I've had anybody go out here not in cloud 9 because they came to our museum.
Coming up after the break, find out what a car that's over 100 years old looks like. You definitely don't want to miss it. Stay with us. Welcome back to In Focus. I'm your host, Thuy Phan. Before the break, you had a chance to see what some of the most luxurious vehicles of the 1900s look like. In this segment, we'll find out more about this extensive collection and how they keep these beauties running.
While those who walk these halls know its true worth and value inside, there are still those on the other side that have no idea what this museum has to offer.
It's a absolutely hidden gem. The best thing in Fort Lauderdale, and people are getting to know it.
I just think it's an extraordinary thing to see the history this man has of all these Packard cars. It's amazing. I myself owned a 1953 Packard when I was a youngster, so I knew firsthand what great cars they are. And the scope of his collection is just remarkable. He has cars from 1912 until 1949, I believe. And it's just a remarkable thing to walk around and get a sense of the feel of the size of these cars, the powerfulness of them.
Gannon himself is a former Packard owner and knows firsthand the joys these cars can bring.
Yeah, I owned a 1953 green Packard. I don't remember the model number, but it was a 4-door sedan. Had a straight 8-cylinder engine in it. It was a very, very big car. This was similar in shape to the Caribbean you see outside, only it was a 4-door sedan. And it was just a very, very fun car for me. I was young. I didn't have too much money. I bought it for $50 or $60 and fixed it up and drove it for a couple of years. And it was just a very, very fun car. It was so stable and so solid that it was a joy to drive. Ask the man who owns one.
As you walk through the whole museum, you will see all kinds of memorabilia having to do with cars. I mean, there's just basically nothing about cars that we do not have or display in one way or another. As you see the back wall, we have hood ornaments across the top. We have a collection of cigarette lighters. All the pictures of advertisements that you see throughout the museum walls, 95% of them are original advertisements of that era. And we have headlamp rooms, we have horns. There's not too much that you can't mention that we don't have. This is our car that we use for Memorial Weekend. This is a 1938 flower funeral car. The hood ornament on this is a very rare hood ornament because only 6 were ever made. They double as a radio antenna, and we do own 2 of the 6. The flower funeral car is made up and arranged to carry all the flower arrangements of the funeral on top of the car, and then you put the casket in through the back. What makes this actually a one-of-a-kind is the convertible hearse. There's not that many convertible hearses left around. Today's cars and trucks probably weigh somewhere in the neighborhood of 36, 26. These cars actually weigh 4,000 to 5,000, 6,000 pounds. They're all made out of solid steel, not like today's cars. They're unibodies. They actually have a steel frame in it. We have a great collection of not only cars, but a small collection of kids' toys. As you can see on the wall to the right over there, the little Tonka toys, the types of toys that they used in those days. And behind me here, we have a collection of pedal cars. These pedal cars are very unique. These four here all are shaped and resemble Packards, such as the top one at the top is a Roadster, which has never been restored. The center one is the 32 shovel nose. The bottom one, we have a Roadster with a rumble seat. And we even have a two-door coupe, okay? The neat thing about this two-door coupe is that it even has roll-up windows. We have a 1926 touring convertible. We got little horns. Okay? The touring convertible was designed the first year to put two-tone colors on the body. We have cars here in the center of the museum in the room back here. This first car in line, this burgundy-looking colored car here, actually belonged to Margie Merriweather Post. She was the heiress of Post cereal. As we continue looking through our cars, we have another one that has never been restored. This 1929 7-passenger 4-door sedan is all original. They repainted the hood, but the fenders, as you can see, are still faded, original, and this has 6,000 miles on the engine only. Very unique for its time and very, very priceless for as many miles as it has on it. As we continue, we have a 1929 dual cow. Back in those days, you had coach companies that could design you coaches. This is a Dietrich coach, same way as the 1931. The Dietrichs were always the most elaborate. As you notice, the headlights are turned. They also turn with the steering wheel again. And the hood ornament on this one here is called the Goddess of Speed, which was Packard's most famous hood ornament. But this car here was owned by the president of the Smith's Brewing Company in 1929, and Gary Cooper owned a car exactly like this one. This is called a dual cow. The dual cow is this thing back here. When the driver drives you with the top down, this windshield is made to fold forward. The cowling is made to raise up in the air. And when you sit yourself back here, that the chauffeur puts it all back together, you don't get wind or dust on you when you're all beautifully dressed up in 1929. And behind the car, we have an original 1920s 39 trunk, okay? This trunk here is all original and is a very special trunk, okay? Because it is made to open two ways. Not only does the top open like this, but the front opens down, and it has individual suitcases inside of it made to fit, so you don't have to take the whole trunk off. All you have to take is the suitcases out and then repack them back in their spots. We're coming into the last two rooms of the museum, and we have two very unique cars here. We have a 1939 or 1930 emergency vehicle that was only used and designed for the Packard Proving Grounds. And behind me, I have two cars that have never been restored. And everybody loves to have a car. How would you like to have a car and never buy another one? This 1928 Roadster behind me has 219,000 original miles on the engine. Nothing has ever been done to it since 1928 other than minor maintenance. We bought it from the original owner in 2002. And from the time that he bought it till 2002 that we buy it from him, he travels from New Hampshire to California every year on vacation in this car, and it was the only car he ever owned. Now I'm going to present the oldest car in the museum. We have a 1909 Gentleman Speedster or Runabout. This runabout has no electric parts. The front headlights run out of acetylene gas or carbine gas. The little lights run out of kerosene. The windshield is called a monocle windshield and is made up of two 2-cylinder engines actually capable of doing 50 miles an hour.
Not bad at all for a car made over a century ago.
I believe anyone who's interested in anything mechanical enjoys automobiles. They're so much a part of the American history of this century, the 20th century, that they're really a time capsule of all the events that happened over the 100 years between 1900 and 2000. And they're a wonderful representation of the progress of automobiles, of mechanical engineering, and of styles evolution. They are very, very interesting and very, very beautiful things. Rolling works of art, I would call them.
And because seeing is believing, Frank revs up an engine to show me he wasn't kidding when he said they still all run.
There's all kinds of little tricks to starting these cars. You just don't stick keys in the ignition switch like we do today. There are starter buttons. Ready to go for your ride?
I got a nice little spin around the block in this gorgeous Packard, and I have to say it is as smooth as butter.
Smooth, huh?
Oh, it's smooth. You don't even hear the engine running.
Too bad I can't trade in my Honda for this baby.
I can honestly say that this museum took my breath away when I stepped inside. It is a throwback to the past, and it truly is a time capsule of American history through automobiles. I hope if you ever get a chance to visit the sunny beaches of Fort Lauderdale that you'll make a short trek here to see these beautiful Packards in the flesh. Until next time, we hope you learn more, live more, and always stay in focus. Thanks for watching.